PS5's Phase 2 is about to begin. Get this PS5 upgrade now. And is Xbox giving Sony a free exclusive game? How's it going, everyone? Welcome to PSReady. We have a ton of awesome news to get into today, but before we jump into it all, I think we should talk about the March PS Plus games because they're actually decent. I'm not going to say great or even really good. It's just like a decent month for PS Plus. These were announced last week and they kind of like came and went because of all the other announcements. So the big headlining game of the month is Battlefield 2042, and the timing could not be better, I would say, for a game like that to show up on PS Plus Essential. Obviously, Battlefield 2042 had a rocky launch. It felt like it was releasing into early access, which isn't acceptable for a AAA game that was charging, I think, $70 at the time. The content wasn't there. They basically spent the past couple years rebuilding a lot of the maps. They've added in a couple other maps. They've fine-tuned the mechanics. They've made it run better. They basically got it to where it should have been when it came out. So now they're basically saying, hey, come try out Battlefield 2042 with the free PS Plus Essential version. It's also gone on sale on Xbox and been on Steam on sale a bunch of times. So if you've been playing Battlefield 1 or even Battlefield 5 and you're looking at 2042 trying to figure out if it's worth jumping into, now if you have a PlayStation 5 and PS Plus Essential, you don't even have to worry about it. The second game on the list is actually pretty fun and kind of interesting that it's being included on PS Plus because it's Minecraft Dungeons. This is a game that was fully funded, made, created by Microsoft, and it was launched into Game Pass day one. So to see it show up on PS5 underneath the PlayStation Plus Essential banner as a free game, it's kind of interesting, right? Like we've seen stuff like Deathloop, Ghostwire Tokyo, games like that have shown up on PS Plus before, at least in the extra side of things, but still, to see a game that was just made and created 100% by Microsoft, like this wasn't even a game that was in development before they bought Mojang, that's kind of interesting and pretty cool. I played it back when it came out on the Nintendo Switch. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's like a light version of Diablo or something like that. It's got pretty good graphics and it's simple. My friends over at Double 11 made it, so if you've never played this game, you should definitely check it out. Third on the list is a game called Code Vein, which is kind of like anime Dark Souls in a vampire world. I've never played it, but I've bought it on the Steam sale and had it downloaded on my computer for years. I've heard it's pretty good. I don't really have much experience with it. It's gotten pretty solid reviews though, so if you're looking for a Souls-like, maybe this is worth checking out. Overall, I'm saying this is an okay month. Obviously, Battlefield as a name is a good game to include in PS Plus. I think that's kind of cool, but it's not really the biggest or best AAA game. It's kind of like including Fallout 76 or something like that. You know, it's not really having the best reputation to throw on PS Plus. Minecraft Dungeons is a good game, but it's nothing big. And then of course, Code Vein is a few years old. Watch, this will be a month where everyone's like, what are you talking about? This is a 10 out of 10 PS Plus month. I'm already waiting for the comments. Thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Play more than 2,000 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships in dynamic combined arms PvP battles. Every vehicle is incredibly detailed and modeled down to their individual components. You can play War Thunder right now on PC, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and the previous console generation. The collection of vehicles in War Thunder span over 100 years, starting in 1920s and making its way all the way up till today. It also has a super in-depth customization system for vehicles, where you can apply hundreds of camouflages, place historical markings anywhere on your machines, as well as 3D decorators such as bushes and equipment. It also runs at 4K resolution and has awesome graphics. Whether you're on PS5, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, or PC, you should give War Thunder a shot. If you use my link, which is down in the description and on the screen here, you'll get a large free bonus pack, which includes multiple premium vehicles, premium account, boosters, and much more. Also, I would really like to see them start including PSVR 2 games in this. That's what's really going to get people to go out and buy this thing, right? If you're getting free games every month on PlayStation Plus. Next up, we got to talk about one of the few great games that were announced during the State of Play last week, which is of course Baldur's Gate. That one's coming out this summer. It's from Larian Studios, who are behind the Divinity games that everyone absolutely loves, but there was some controversy over the weekend where people weren't sure if this was going to be a PlayStation 5 and PC exclusive, because in the trailer, there was no mention of Xbox Series X, and even in the press releases after the trailer, there was again no announcement related to Xbox Series X and S. Well, as it turns out, this game will be a timed exclusive on PS5, but not because Sony bought exclusivity or any of the other million reasons we always see PS5 exclusives at launch. It's because the game is having trouble running on the Xbox side of the fence. Specifically, the Xbox Series S is causing the problem, and basically the game is having trouble running in its split screen mode, which if you've played Divinity Original Sin 2, you know that like as an RPG, the co-op is like one of the best features in that game, and obviously it's going to be a big feature in Baldur's Gate 3, so they want to make sure they can get that working on Xbox before launching the game. And if you're sitting there like, why couldn't they just release it on Xbox Series X and make it an Xbox Series X only game until they can get it running on Series S? Basically, Xbox has a mandate in place where if you are making a next-gen game, it has to run on both consoles. So they basically have to wait until it actually runs on both consoles to release the game on both consoles. So for the time being, until they're able to get that going, we're going to have a PS5 exclusive with Baldur's Gate 3, which is crazy because this is an insanely hyped game. Like, people are extremely excited for it, and everything in that trailer looked absolutely phenomenal. So it's just another hit against Xbox that they really can't afford to take right now, and it's one that they really shouldn't even have to deal with. They should just make it okay to release games that aren't going to run well in the Series S on the Series X exclusively. But here we are, that's the situation we're dealing with, and it's not good for Xbox. The flannel-lined Joel Miller trucker jacket, a little warm for in here. We have the heat on here in California because it's raining and snowing everywhere. Guys, this is like the busiest week of my life. I've got my birthday going on. I'm seeing my favorite band, Hot Mulligan. Me and Ray get to go to the Mandalorian premiere. I'm feeling really blessed right now, but the thing personally, and you guys are gonna hate me for this, that I'm most excited for is Destiny 2's new expansion, Lightfall. The trailer looked awesome. So the Witness, even though he looks like a Pixar character, he's gonna be a pretty good villain, and they've been kind of describing this expansion as the Avengers Infinity War of the Destiny universe. The last season, if you watch the cutscene on YouTube, it's awesome. The Traveler, the giant ball that's been on the cover of Destiny from the beginning, it tries to take off, and the Witness shows up, and then the Traveler is like, all right, I'll chill out here, and it does a Death Star beam in the trailer. It was an awesome trailer. That's what I'm trying to get at here. But the common theme of Bungie screwing up Destiny continued over the weekend when they released the patch that has Lightfall in it early on PlayStation consoles. Of course, because Sony owes them now, people weren't able to play Destiny all weekend because they downloaded the entire new expansion, which was 95 gigabytes. They went to turn on the game, hit X on the new amazing title screen, and then it was like, this content's not available yet. The servers aren't working. So if you wanted to clean up anything over the weekend with the last season, you were basically SOL. Apparently some people were able to like pause the download or cancel it or delete the entire game and then re-download it from the PlayStation Store, but Destiny is a pretty big game. I think it's around 85 gigabytes on the PS5, so having to re-download that over the weekend was a huge bummer. Just to put it into context, every season has a group of weapons that come out with it, and this season, the one that just ended, the season of the Seraph, it had, I think, like 10 weapons, and for once of like the entire year, most of the weapons were really good, so you'd want to be able to craft them, and the only way to craft them was to grind them out, and then when the season ends, they go into the world pool, so there's no real way to actually focus those specific weapons, so it was a big deal, right? Like, this really lines up well with a talk that someone from Bungie did, I think at GDC, where they talked about how their goal isn't necessarily to make the best game every season anymore, but to have content coming out regularly and quickly, because they're basically thinking that people will forgive them for releasing buggy content. And I can tell you that after the last few seasons of bug after bug after bug, people who play Destiny are getting really sick of it, and I just really hope that Lightfall works well when it comes out tomorrow or today when you're seeing this video. Because having expansions not work at launch is super irritating, especially when Bungie, to get all of the content that you need to play everything that's going to happen in the next year, they're charging like $100 for all of that stuff. So to charge $100 for something that's not going to work at launch, that's not great. And to have it kick off with them releasing the update early and ruining the end of the season for a lot of people, that's pretty frustrating. So if you are a Destiny player like me and you're planning on playing Lightfall, maybe just wait till the second day to make sure everything's working out. Because remember last season, when Season of the Seraph launched, there was a nasty bug that would delete your character, and it happened to quite a few people, which really sucked because Bungie would restore their character, but it was basically based on their servers, so some people lost really good weapons. And this next story is kind of another Xbox L in my opinion, which is weird that we have so many in one video. Like Ray is going to talk about in his video how Xbox has to defend themselves and say, no, Xbox is not going to be sold by Microsoft if the Activision deal doesn't go through. So things are crazy over on the Microsoft side of the fence with Xbox right now. That's just the best way to put it. But we got a trailer today for the Outer Worlds that's basically like, hey, this is getting a PS5 upgrade with some improvements. It's called like the Spacer's Choice choice edition of the game. And I think the only reason this is happening on PlayStation is because Private Division, which is a company underneath 2K Games, are the publishers of the first game. So while Microsoft is making the second Outer Worlds with Obsidian, who they own, and it's going to be Xbox and PC exclusive, the first game, I guess they still have publishing rights over at 2K. So they're being like, screw you, Microsoft, we're going to release this patch anyway. Which is weird, right? Like, did Obsidian work on this, or did they get a third party? Like, I don't know. This is like a weird situation that as time goes on, these companies that are bought by Microsoft, when they move on to other games, then they won't have to worry about stuff like this. So this new version of the game is going to come with both of the expansions. It's going to be $60, not $70. And what it improves in the Outer Worlds is higher resolution graphics, a dynamic weather system, overhauled lighting and environments, improved performance and load times, enhanced details on characters, and an increased level cap. And it says and more after that, which is like whatever, I don't know what that means. The Outer Worlds is a game I've wanted to go back and try just because I never really got to it because of the time it came out. Around that time, it was an incredible year for games. We got the first Dark Pictures game, Man of Medan, we got Control, we got Gears 5, and I remember playing Resident Evil 2 Remake around that time, but I know it came out way earlier than that. Regardless, there was a ton of games I was playing when the Outer Worlds came out. I got it for cheap later on, and I've just never really gotten around to it. And now it seems like I'm being rewarded for it because I already own it on Steam and on PS5, and the upgrade to this new PS5 version is only $10. I never bought the expansions too, so I'm wondering if having the base game means I can just pay the $10, get this new Ultimate Edition of the game, and then just keep all the expansions that come along with it. I'll have to investigate that, but yeah, it's a little weird that Sony is once again getting a better version of a game that is also going to be an Xbox exclusive in the future, right? Like, it's kind of interesting. I feel like Xbox just can't stop taking the L's this week, and I kind of feel bad for them. But at least Ray's got some fun stuff to talk about over on his video, so definitely go check out Xbox Ready. And if you want to see some cool pics from the Mandalorian premiere, you can follow me on Twitter at Jimmy Champagne. Guys, we are about to begin the second phase of the PlayStation 5. That is what is being said about the showcase that is going to happen this summer, and I'm actually feeling pretty confident that we are probably going to see a showcase because, you know, it's summer, it's around E3, Sony's definitely going to have some stuff to show off from the first party, hopefully, but they also have some hardware to show off like the PS5 Slim or the PS5 Gen 2, as I've started calling it here on the channel. The timing also just makes sense for a showcase like that, especially with the rest of the year looking a little murky, right? Like, we have Final Fantasy 16 coming out around the time that this showcase would happen, but towards the end of the year, all we really have to look forward to on the PlayStation side is Spider-Man 2. And I don't mean that in any negative way, like saying, oh, all we have to look forward to is Spider-Man 2. I am so insanely hyped for Spider-Man 2. It would just be nice to know what's going on with some other games over at Sony, like Wolverine, for example, or on the PSVR 2 side, Firewall Ultra, because if you look at the PSVR 1, the most popular game for that headset was Firewall 0 Hour, and I was hoping that Ultra would be out with the new headset, but it looks like we're going to have to wait a bit. I'm also excited for Switchback VR from the Dark Pictures people, but yeah, we're still waiting on some PSVR 2 announcements, we're still waiting on some big PS5 announcements, and of course, like I already said, we're waiting for the announcement of the PS5 Slim or the PS5 Gen 2. And the reason this is being called the Gen 2 instead of the Slim is because it's not really like a slim version of the PlayStation 5, it's just going to be more streamlined. So instead of making two versions of the PS5, they're going to make one version, which is a digital version, and then it's going to have a detachable disk drive. So you can just pop that on the side, plug it into the back of your console, and be good to go. So if you can't afford the disc version at launch of whenever this console comes out, you can just go buy the disc drive later on, attach it to your console, and be good to go. I think my bet would be buying the digital version and then putting a 2TB SSD in it, and then down the line buying a disc drive if you really need it. Like, I will really want the disc drive version because I still watch 4K Blu-rays because I'm one of those people. So yeah, I need a disc drive on my console, but I can see for most people who use PS Plus Extra or PS Plus Premium, basically download all their games, I can see why a digital version that costs $100 less, and then buying a $100 SSD like the Samsung 980 Pro, that kind of makes a lot of sense to me. There's also just a ton of stuff that's been floating around that we haven't heard about. Of course, Konami apparently has a ton of things going on, whether it's Silent Hill, Castlevania, Metal Gear Solid. Like, they have so many franchises that apparently are just cooking, waiting to be announced, because they were supposed to have an E3 showcase last year and then they canceled it last minute, and it looks like it was so that they actually had some announcements to get people excited for. The thing I'm personally most excited for there would obviously be Castlevania. I feel like with the success of the show on Netflix, the success of the re-releases of games, especially the Advanced Collection, they have to have been making a Castlevania game, hopefully a 2D one that kind of matches up with those older games. I really would love to see that, especially since Bloodstained Ritual of the Night didn't really work for me all that much. I just don't like, I don't know, I didn't like Miriam as the main character. I thought the story was a little weird, and I don't like the 2.5D 3D graphics that they used. If Konami could figure out a way to do a Castlevania game in the style of something like Octopath Traveler, then you've got my excitement right there. And of course, Metal Gear Solid. I know Kojima probably won't be working on that game, but if Bluepoint is remaking the first game from top to bottom like they did with Demon's Souls or Shadow of the Colossus, that would be absolutely phenomenal, and I would love to play that. And then there's all the other studios at Sony, like Bend, for example, who haven't made a game since Days Gone. I would love to know what they're working on. So the timing is right for a PS5 showcase, and having it be a ton of games paired up with a brand new console, that's really going to make Microsoft sweat, I think. Like, that's absolutely nuts if that's what they have to compete with on top of trying to figure out this whole Activision deal. So regardless, 2023 is going to be exciting for us PS5 gamers. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to click the link in the description to download War Thunder, the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever.